Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Cooldown Lap. The date today is the 13th of January, and we're on episode 42 tonight. So, thanks for listening in, joining in with us here. Tonight, it's a little bit of a shake-up. It's just me and James coming to you. So, James, the voice of Midwest Motorsports, here. How you doing, James?
I'm great, Ant. Good to be here, man. Thanks for having me. What's going on?
Oh, not much. JT has work life to deal with tomorrow, so he has to be in bed by probably about now. So he's going to listen to this at a later date, and he'll be back or should be back next week. So we'll get into some racing that's happening here in the league, and actually stuff that's happening that's not league related too. So we'll start breaking that stuff down now. But James, how about I go first, man, on the things that are happening this week?
What you got, Ant?
So, as anybody who participated in the official series last week would know, or over the weekend would know, we just concluded the Roar before the 24. We did have one Midwest Motorsports member who at least reported it that I seen win in the session that he was in. So, a special congrats goes out to John Daniels. We have a slide for you we'll put up here in a few minutes, but congrats goes out to John Daniels on his win. And following, the name is there for a reason, the Roar before the 24. That means that this upcoming weekend is the 24 hours of Daytona. I don't know if any of our current racers that are in the league have participated in the 24 hours of Daytona. James, I know you being a avid race watcher. You're definitely gonna watch the live event, which I imagine is coming up not this weekend but the following. Correct?
That's right. One more week.
Yeah.
My
So,
brother's going in person. I've been 3 or 4 times. It's a must-go-to event, man. There's nothing like 24 hours of racing nonstop.
oh yeah. Well, you've been to uh, every year you go out to the Petit Le Mans, correct?
Hard not to, and it's 45 minutes up the road.
Exactly. And you have been to the Daytona 24?
Oh yeah, several times. I went with my dad when I was little, so it always brings back good memories. It's about a 8.5, 9 hour trip from Atlanta.
Okay, so the next question I'm going to ask is probably going to be a hard one, or it's comparing apple to oranges. So, is there a preference here between either the Petit Le Mans or Daytona? Like, I guess which one, in your opinion, puts on a better show?
Well, I mean, you only got one kid. When you have more than one, it's kind of like asking you if you have a favorite. You know, any racing is good racing. They're two different races. They have similar aspects in the fact that they're multiple drivers, similar drivers. The Rolex is the first race of the season, point scoring race of the season. So there's a lot of anticipation and excitement in the stands around that. Um, 10 hours at the most of Petit Le Mans. It's quite a bit different than 24 hours. A full Petit Le Mans is not even a halfway mark of the 24 hours of Le Mans. And I mean, there's nothing like the sun coming up at Daytona, and you don't get that at Petit. So they're two different um, kettles of fish, I guess.
Okay, apples to oranges. I was kind of figuring we'd be going down that route. I will say the layout, though, for the Petit Le Mans would be a little more demanding, in my opinion, than the Daytona Roval. But the whole 24 hours, sun come up, sun go down, and the weather you have to deal with if it's at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, driving through a rainstorm. I can kind of see the challenge there. Is there any team in particular you're pulling for? Is there anybody you got your way to root for in the 24 hours of Daytona?
I'm a race fan, man. I like them all. I want to see good, fair competition. I might root against somebody if I think they're, you know, if they're not my favorites. But I really don't have everybody's my favorite. Regarding the sun come up, sun come down thing, it's interesting to hear. I mean, of course, you see them on the TV the racers talking about, when the sun comes up, you get a second win, but you realize you still got over a half the race to go. Um, and the same thing when you're a fan, you've made it through the night. Sometimes it gets pretty cold, especially in the early part of the year. Even in Daytona and Florida, you think it's Florida, you think of sunny weather, but in January it's still pretty darn cold, and so the nights get pretty cold, and sitting around the campfires and stuff, and then going to sleep and waking up in the morning and getting the grill going and camping out and realizing that you still got so much race left. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. You can't describe it really without being
Yeah,
there.
I will say I always get butterflies thinking about it, but the going to bed watching the race, like fall asleep midnight, 1 o'clock, and you wake up and they're still broadcasting in the morning, and it's like you never really left it. Like the amount of work that goes into getting the broadcast and everything together, and making sure that everybody's like in top peak performance during the broadcast as it's going for 24 hours. Nonetheless, it's something to appreciate. But there is one team I am going to be watching very closely, and it's that number 91 Trackhouse Racing Corvette with SVG, Scott McLaughlin, and Connor Zilisch and Ben Keating.
Uh, they're going to be hard to beat. I think that, the first year for the team, so a lot of times it's a team challenge as well as driver's challenge. But I have not looked at the start list yet, so um, let me get back to you next week. We can ask me the same question again, but I'm definitely going to be watching Project 91 for sure.
Oh yeah. So bringing the conversation full circle, the virtual 24 hours is this weekend. So have you? I know you don't race currently. Have you watched any or spotted for anybody running in the Daytona 24?
No, but I have watched. I watched a few streams last year. Um, I think Aaron Holroyd had a team, and we were big doing the broadcast together in the Road Series. So I was watching Aaron and his crew. Um, there's a lot of organization that goes into it. I mean, I was really impressed. It definitely opened my eyes and got me more excited to just get a little dipping my toes in the iRacing world. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it is the complete team ordeal. I know whenever our group, so when Justin, Eric, Josh, and any of the other guys that are racing with us uh, are participating in this, we normally have whoever's either getting out of the car, whoever's getting ready to get in the car, or if somebody doesn't have anything to do, normally they hop in, they take over like spotting duties, or they'll run the crew chief and get the car set up and ready for the next pit stop. That way, the driver just focuses on driving. And I feel like that is probably the best way to build up team chemistry, is with the communication aspect of being able to like know how your driver is going to drive and say, okay, you've got a car approaching, they'll probably catch you in 3 laps. Or if you're spotting and you're seeing a real aggressive driver behind him, like, hey, this guy's coming, it's better off just to let him go. It's a long race. So I think that's the one thing that kind of gets me excited every time this comes around, is the aspect of you're driving with your buddies, you're driving with friends, you're driving with people you've met in iRacing, and you're kind of just coming together and building that relationship just a little bit more. There's some great memories that go into the Daytona 24 that I have personally. And I'm just hoping to build upon that and actually get a great finish this year. Try to stay out of wrecks. It seems like anybody that can survive and stay out of the wrecks, keep their nose clean, typically has like a top 5, top 10 finish. So that's the plan this season, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited, man, and I hope everybody that's participating can share in that excitement, and I hope everybody this weekend that runs in the Daytona 24 has a clean race and can have a good finish, or at least get
Yeah,
some good memories out of it.
I would encourage everybody that is racing to let us know and make sure you post up your streaming site on the streamers links thread so that we can all follow you and follow each other. I know um, Shane McNeely's working on it. I think there's a lot of the Road Series guys are big into it. So Chase Fincher and Michael Odell have been talking about it, I believe. I don't think they may or may not be doing it together. I don't want to speak out of place. But it's pretty exciting. We'll be watching. So make sure you post up on the streamers link thread.
Yep, exactly. And grab some screenshots, guys. Post them in there, and make sure you guys tell us or tag an admin. Tag me. We're always looking for screenshots to throw up in the cooldown lap. So please grab as many as you can. Post them in there. We'll grab what we can and put them up. And you'll see them as we go through the podcast. I'm sure we'll touch base on a little bit of this stuff next week. And who knows, maybe in another podcast we'll just keep throwing up screenshots. So if you're watching the stream, post in the chat if you guys are running in the Daytona 24. What kind of car are you running? What kind of are you running the LMP2? You running a GT3? You guys running the prototype? Big prototype people. I know Dustin's running that. And what days you guys thinking about running? And definitely, like James said, post your guys' stream in the stream links so we can get some watching in. We always love watching racing. So that's what I got for that, James. What do you got, bud?
Man, I was snowed in this weekend. You know, we got an inch and a half of snow here, and Atlanta shuts down. Not only are the roads not prepared for it, but you know we don't have the trucks and the salt stuff. So I was snowed in. I caught up. I binged watched some of the Dakar rally, and man, there was some new manufacturers in there. The motorcycles, they've got a clean energy division. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Ford Raptors are back in it, supposedly. Well, not supposedly. Ford. It doesn't look much like a Raptor, but Carlos Sainz Sr. is muscling a Ford around the desert. So it was pretty interesting, man. I can't imagine time trialing through the desert rally raid style like that.
No, I've watched a little bit of it. I think it was mostly like highlights and such. And yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do that, man. You're getting the crap beat out of you the whole way across that, and these kidneys just can't take it. Like, I'd be down for a month.
That's right. And yeah, they're beating around. One of the guys was as a two-time champion. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. On the motorcycles, got hurt a couple of times, broke his collarbone, broke bones. You know, doing motorcycles, the motorcycle version of it, dirt bike version of it, the Dakar, and got tired of getting beaten up, so he's doing cars this year as a co-pilot. And after the prologue, which is a shorter version that's not for time, it's just kind of like a warm-up, non-points race, I guess you could say. And he got out of the first one. He's like, that's just a prologue. I felt like beating his head up in there. So he felt like he was a rock in a bag or a box with his head beating around in that containment seat. So yeah, he's got a long race ahead of him. I couldn't do it either.
And so, like I said, I've been watching clips and such of that. How long is the Dakar rally?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm sorry, I'm not smart enough to know. They do it on stages. It's about 3 hours a stage. So different range from whether they're in the dunes where it's all sand or some shrubs and sand and rocks with more navigation. Of course, they got GPS, but that's not always so easy when you're trying to go fast and, you know, you can't really see where you're going sometimes. So I'm sorry, I don't know. I think it's over
I got you.
3 weeks.
10 to 15 days.
Yeah, 3 weeks, 15 days.
Wow. Could you imagine, dude, just waking up every day and just going out there and just your body just getting beat every day for 15 days?
And they're sleeping out there too. You know, I mean, of course they have RVs. They have their mechanics going to the bivouac, which is 8 hour where they have to tent camp or camp out, no bivouac for one of the overnight stays. So
Mm,
there, it's a real test of man and machine.
you ain't kidding. That's not something I'd want to do. I think I'd take the 24 hours of Daytona over that any
Yeah,
day.
for sure.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to sleep. I mean, I don't know how those drivers at either of those, whoever's doing the Dakar Rally or the Daytona 24, I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd be awake watching, waiting eagerly. But
Yeah, I
I guess
think
at some point you just crash.
yeah, if you're actually doing it, you're in that scene. You're conditioned to it. You've trained for it. You don't just decide to pack up your bags one day, grab your helmet on the way out, and go run the Daytona 24-hour race with 4 other teammates. So this is nobody's first endurance race when they get down there to Daytona. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Even being a fan, it's hard. It's hard to sleep when you're a fan, but when it gets down to it, you you find a time to sleep. I get pretty. It, you take little cat naps, maybe.
Little cat naps. I s- yeah, I guess I could see it. I know our first endurance race was Indy. I think the 6 hours of Indy, or 8 hours. It might have been 8 hours. Um, this past fall we went and watched, and if you try and take in so much in one day, I feel like you kind of get burnt out on it pretty quick. So I think the next time I'm going to take things to kind of occupy me a little bit, and just kind of enjoy moment by moment and not try to just totally like dive into it for 8 hours straight. But
Yeah, the adrenaline wears off eventually. You gotta catch up.
yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. So you watched a car rally. Was there anything else that kind of piqued your interest from the weekend?
Um, like I say, man, not much. Once I didn't want to watch too much TV, so I was out doing the best I could.
Yeah, I
Doing
know.
other stuff, catching up.
I know. Before we started the podcast, you asked me if I seen any of the rule changes for Cup Series, or well, for NASCAR in general.
Yeah,
There was one that did kind of stick out to me, and I think I posted it in the Discord. Kind of my reaction to it was the waiver rule that they put in place. Did
yes.
you read up on that one at all?
I read up some, and I've paid attention a little bit. I'm excited about that one as well.
Yeah, I think it's gonna cause a huge change in people participating in other things, or making sure that they're going to be at the track for what they need to be there for their driving obligations. Because if you show up, or if you take that Indy race now and you can't make it down to Charlotte for some reason, you're going to put that Charlotte race above it, or you lose all your playoff points, and you lose any playoff points you haven't got yet. So that's a I think that's a great way for NASCAR to address the Kyle Larson
Yeah,
fallout. And moving forward, it's a great way to make it so that doesn't happen again.
yeah, that was a bummer, and I think it's more on the teams than the driver itself. I mean, the teams are now going to pretty much make sure that your driver's going to be there no matter what, and make a priority. It might make it difficult for anybody to do the double.
It might. I mean, and if the weather ain't looking good, you'll probably hang out until it's like, hey, I got maybe 30 minutes of fluff time here. You know, I got to get going now, and you'll just leave. They'll have to have a backup driver trained for this stuff. So it's Again, I feel like this is the best way for NASCAR to handle this, so people aren't like, as soon as Larson missed that race, you had people who are like, "Oh, it's a bummer," but then some of the other people were saying you shouldn't get a waiver for that. You chose IndyCar over NASCAR. Like that was a choice.
I can
So
totally see both sides of it for sure.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. But now this makes it to where the driver can't, make that choice anymore. It's NASCAR or you're basically losing the playoffs. As soon as you get in there, you have 0 points to however many bonus points the other people have. I mean, you'd have to have a killer playoff. And with the way they've been formatting these playoffs, at least last year's, with 2 super speedways in the first 2 weeks, like a bunch of wild card tracks. It makes it hard to go in there with no playoff points and make it to the end. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking at that saying, like, guys, we really need to make it to this NASCAR race. Shut it down.
You'd pretty much have to win every round, right? A race in every round.
Yeah,
But
you'd have to.
at least they didn't kick them all the way out, which I think was the alternative, right? If you don't get the
Exactly.
waiver, they're not eligible, period. So this is,
Exactly.
a little give on both sides, on both ends. So I think there's a lot of smart guys in the NASCAR rules admins. Can
Yeah.
learn something from them. Yeah.
There were a few other rules that James and I didn't get a chance to actually look at and break down and have a discussion about. That was probably the biggest one that stood out to me. But so we'll probably look at those and have another conversation as we go throughout the coming weeks, because Daytona's what, 32 days away, I think, 33 days. It's within we're getting down to a month here. So
Couple more shows left before the race, and I want to get Justin's opinion and anybody else that wants to chime in. Let us know what rules you're excited about, or looking forward to, or confused about, or mad about, or glad about, so we can talk about it.
what keeps you up at night? We're here to talk about it.
That's right.
All right, so we're going to move on here to our beginning segments here. Before we hop into the Road Series, again, congrats to John Daniels with his win in the Roar before the 24. Again, I believe this was the only one I seen. The only person that posted any screenshots about the Roar before the 24. If you guys did post any and I missed it, please tag me in them so I can see them and go from there. But his was the only one I seen he posted that he won in. So congrats out to John Daniels. I'm not sure if he's participating in the Daytona 24. I'm sure that's something that if he's watching the stream, or if he plans on watching the stream throughout the week, he can post it in Discord if he plans on running in it. But again, congrats out to John on his win.
My guess
Running the
is he's
TCR.
probably running.
You think he is?
I'm going to guess. He likes to race, man. He's a racer.
Yeah. So as we go ahead, and we're going to move over to the Road Series segment. As we're transitioning over here, Chase Fincher posted in the chat that they're running the LMP2. Him, Jesse, Travis, Mauricio, and one other. They're going to run a sister car. It's going to have Jack Lucas and Brian Sarton as well. So, with some other drivers. So that's going to be interesting. I wonder if the sister car is going to be in the same split. That would always be cool to have a team car in the split.
That's almost half the Road Series drivers. I love it, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, Chase, if you can, man, post post yours and your sister car's stream in the Discord so we can get a watch at that.
All those guys are great drivers, man. That's exciting. I'm excited to see what Jesse Coffey, Jack Lucas, Chase Fincher. What? Let's go.
Oh, he says that both teams, so their team and the sister team, 100 points apart. So there's a pretty good chance that they're both going to be in the same split.
No.
Oh man, that would be some great watching. So again, post your guys' streams up in the chat in the Discord channel so we can get a good watch at that. That's going to be great watching. Speaking of great watching, we had the first multi-class practice session for the road series out at the Nürburgring GP track. So not the full 24-hour endurance. Thank God there's so many turns. Just the short 2 minutes to get around it. So we had 34 cars, I think? 35 cars participate in this?
The first split, the first multi-class track, man, that was awesome to see so many cars.
Yeah, it was interesting. A lot of good racing, a lot of hard racing, a lot of difficult racing at times, I would say. A lot of moments where you're driving, you glance in your rearview mirror, there's nothing there. Then out of nowhere, man, there's a GT3 car barreling towards you. And for the most part, they picked some great places to pass. We didn't have any. I don't think we had any huge issues with GT3 cars forcing passes in bad sections of the track, or GT4 cars straying from their line and collecting a GT3. I didn't hear too much about that. Any of you guys participated that want to throw it up in the chat if you've seen anything like that, you can. But overall, I thought it was very clean for our first multi-class race. What were your thoughts on that, bud?
I didn't get to see it. We were working hard to get the broadcast going. Unfortunately, we didn't have any luck with it. Some glitch somewhere, so we kept trying, but couldn't get it going. So I think we're prepared for tomorrow night to have a good time, and we are going to go live, rain or shine, glitch or no glitch. We'll be on it. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to show qualifying or not, but we're going to do our best. We'll definitely be live by the race start.
Definitely. So a couple key things I want to kind of talk into here real quick, James, and you can kind of bounce your thoughts off of me with it. But so with the mixed grid, qualifying, where they have the split grid qualifying, where they send out the GT4 cars first and GT3 second, was actually pretty cool to do. I know a couple of the GT3 guys were talking about lining up at the end of pit road and waiting for Josh to call them so they can go out. So qualifying was definitely pretty cool to see. And then the 5 seconds gap seemed like it went off without a hitch. So I know Steve's putting, anybody that's participating tomorrow, Steve's putting the start zone in the chat like he did last week, so you guys know where to start, where not to start. So shouldn't be any issues there, but we can play some of those interviews, James, that you have from the race if you like.
Yeah, I wanted to hear some more about your racing, Ant. Did you have any trouble with traffic yourself? I mean, my interviews are recorded. I did get a chance to talk with Nick Aslin and Michael Odell afterwards. So I've got a clip to play. So don't go anywhere. Tune in. But I want to hear about your race, Ant, since you were in it. Did you have any problem?
I had one problem, and I hope he's listening. Norm Snyder. That guy.
Norm.
That Norm. I had to congratulate him after the race, because it seems like anytime him and I get to racing, like, I'll be watching a GT4 car come up and he'll move out of the way and let him go. And then he sees me coming up and he's like, nope, we're going to race, buddy. And let me tell you, man, that dude, it's like trying to take a pork chop from a dog. Like, he fights you on every foot of the track he can get. And I got a pretty good laugh out of it, because he is so fiery, man, when he's racing you. Like, he comes down, puts some late blocks on you, protects the apex. Like, there was a corner I thought he blew by a mile, and somehow he still drug that thing back down onto the apex. And I was just laughing the whole time. But again, I appreciate Norm trying to make me a better racer by doing that, trying to make me attack in different spots and stuff. And then, sometimes I try and push him and see if I can make him make a mistake. So it's I'd have to say that was probably the biggest for me was racing Norm. There was a couple moments where I came out of a corner and ended up lighting up the rear tires and bringing the butt end of the car around, spinning it. But aside from that, it was practice race. I got what I needed out of it. I got to see how the GT3 cars would blow by you. But I got a question for you. Francis Faustino posted his stream of him racing. If you haven't watched that, did you watch it? I guess that's my first question. Did you end up watching Francis's stream?
No, from Nürburgring. No, I did not. I have watched the streams before, and they're great. They're amazing.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, go back and watch that one and just kind of skim it until I want to say it's close to their second pit stop. And listen to that Mustang on the back end of Francis's car. Like, it's kind of terrifying. You can hear that engine behind him, and then as Justin pulls up, like on that straight stretch before you go up to the hairpin chicane, then hairpin back to the pits.
Yep.
He pulls up beside Francis, and that's all you hear is the exhaust coming off of that car. Like, it's loud. So I kind of feel bad for Francis having to hear that, but that Mustang's going to be a menace out there with that engine noise.
They did a good job imitating the real one on iRacing. Lots of horsepower.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess that thing it's a quick rocket. I think Justin ended up looping it once. I don't know if that was just the sheer power in that car just lighting up the rear end, or if it was in a breaking point where he started hopping it. I kind of wish he was on here to tell us about it, but that car is a menace. So
he's the only
definitely,
one, I think, right?
I think there's one other person running the Mustang.
Okay.
One other person, but if you can, when you guys are running your cameras and stuff, see if you can get an in-car next to that thing so you can hear that car go, because it's loud.
Well, once again, I really am disappointed that we didn't get a broadcast, but we'll figure it out for tomorrow night. And once again, congrats to Nick Aslin and Michael Odell. Let me play these interviews. I think you're all going to like it. There's something for everybody in this one.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
The Midwest Motorsports Road Series prepared for a new season with a non-points race at the Nürburgring GP circuit. For the first time in league history, the Road Series is going mixed class, with the pro drivers in GT3 cars and the AM drivers staying with GT4s as previous seasons. I spoke with the GT3 winner Michael Odell and the GT4 winner Nicholas Aslin after the race. I asked them, what were your expectations going in, and what did you see on the track? Michael Odell went first.
So, yeah, with the multi-class structure, I feel like it'll be a lot more fun just with the battles and working your way through the field and how much more that plays into it. But one thing also is depending on how the cars sort the traffic. Sometimes they'll move and they'll see you in the mirror and then they're like, oh, okay, I'll get out of the way for them. And then you're both are doing that same thing where you're both walking towards each other like at a store and you keep going, oh, I'll move right. And then they go, oh, I'll move left. And you just keep indirectly moving to each other. I'm sure we'll iron that out in due time. But other than that, with traffic and with the actual strategy, it feels like it's a lot more thinking on your feet and making it up as you go.
Then GT4 winner Nicholas Aslin talked about it from his perspective.
With, being the slower guy, I can get why it wouldn't be fun having to let the faster guys through, but I mean, it was so much fun, like, having to keep an eye out for them coming in the mirror and, trying to push hard through certain corners to try to, have them catch you in a better spot on a straight or in like a braking zone where they can outbrake you into the corner.
Michael Odell qualified on pole. We went green, and this is what he said about the early laps, racing with second qualifier Justin Thaler.
It was really fun. I would say that Mustang is probably the best contender for just tires are pretty much fired up by lap 2. It seemed like not even end of lap 1, he had temp in him versus me. And then by end of lap 2, 3, it seemed like he was already up to operating temps, operating pressures with it. Even though he got him up to temp quick, the second they started to taper off, you'd see that he's asking lap 2 performance on a 10-lap tire, especially if you start trying to do those laps time and time again.
Another first for the Midwest Motorsports Road Series is a split start. And after the GT3s took off, GT4s rolled off 5 seconds behind. Here, Nicholas Aslan talks about his first few laps racing with Landon Sparkle.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a little disappointed I don't get any points to go along with this, but yeah, so many great battles I feel like on track. With the 91 at the start of the race. I hate that, the lap traffic is eventually what kind of got me by him.
As the race developed, Nicholas now talks about approaching the GT4 one-stop strategy and his race to the finish with Ian Bakaitis in the BMW M4.
And then even afterwards, Ian Bakaitis, champion of the road series, he wasn't far behind and kept me full throttle to have to fight for it. And, we were matching lap after lap, I think almost. And I was able to and bring it home clean. Honestly, before the pit stop, I think he was about 5 seconds behind me. And he actually came out of the pits, I think 3 seconds behind me. I don't know how many times a lap my eyes kept looking over to the relative and just seeing that gap.
Michael Odell talked about what he was keeping a watch on as the race wound down.
With the fuel being a 2-stop, you can do 1-stop. We saw Brian do it. He did a 1-stopper. It's possible, but it seemed like at the very end, you need to be very close by that first stop to make it worth its while because it tapers off very fast at the end there.
I also asked them if there were any other close calls out there that really stuck out.
I was pushing hard, and they had came right behind me up through the Schumacher S, and it was just bad timing. I was trying to dig through there. I got real sideways. Shout out to them for not plowing through me. Much appreciated. Sorry if I held you up, but it was so much fun.
And finally, I asked their thoughts on the upcoming season.
To be honest with you, right before the race, I put that track in my cart. I don't even own it yet. When I was up visiting my dad over the holidays, he fortunately owns it. So I did a couple laps, just familiarize myself with the track on his sim. It seems like a cool track. Hopefully we can bring home a good result, but I'm really excited about a lot of these tracks on the schedule. A lot of them I'm familiar with. Really looking forward to pretty much every single race on this schedule. They really knocked it out of the park. Yep, hopefully we can not junk it and bring it home clean.
I'm super pumped.
You and me both. It's really going to be an exciting season, and honestly, it'll be awesome. I'm glad the multi-classes started off so strong.
I think that's the understatement of the decade for each of the almost 60 drivers currently registered in the Road Series. With 10 races in Season 8, including 3 100-minute endurance events starting every Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. Look for the Midwest Motorsports YouTube channel, or you can always check out midwest-motorsports.com, where signups are always open and always free. Or we will look for you in the YouTube chat. You can help us call the race as it happens. Until then, take care, and we'll see you Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. And as always, stay in your lane.
And I approve of this message.
gotta have him approving of the message.
That's our race control, Joshua. Everybody knows that voice. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I do have to apologize to Landon Sprinkle for missing his name. I expect to get ripped for that every time. Maybe it's going to be a running joke now, but it's all good. Good to see Landon up front, and we'll look for him up front again as the season goes on.
Yeah. So speaking of up front, we had our 2 winners from the practice session. Michael Odell in that Corvette took away first place with the pros, and Nick Asselin in the Mercedes took away first place for the AM drivers. So we know it's practice, but congrats, guys, on the inaugural multi-class practice wins, and we'll see what carries over to Motegi. In the chat, I'm seeing that it's probably going to be a bit harder for the GT3s to pass this week. Jason's practice session was showing that there wasn't many places to pass, so probably going to be looking for some action down them short straights. And you're probably going to see the GT3s taking a different line, I would say, you'd have to take a different line through the corners than the GT4s. So it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff plays out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Twin Ring Motegi. It's not a track maybe many might be familiar with. So, just patience is the name of the game. It's a long season. And this is the way we're going to start off tomorrow night, man. The schedule looks killer. I don't know if you've checked it out. It's a pretty short 10 race season. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The Road Series kicks off tomorrow night.
Yeah. I did not get a chance to look at the weather, but from what I'm gathering, there's a chance that it's going to rain. There's a chance that it's not going to rain. So take that with a grain of salt. I guess check the weather as we get closer to the session. I'm not sure if it changes when we load in or not, but we'll see what happens. For anybody that's in the Road Series chat, Steve Hansel just posted up within the last couple of minutes. He posted up the Garage 61 lap times for the GT4 teams, and he also posted up our team, so Midwest Motorsports Garage 61 group. So if you guys want to join in on that, if you don't know what Garage 61 is a app that collects your telemetry and lap times. So if you're part of that group, it will take your throttle input, brake input, it'll show your lap, break it down for you, and it will show you other people that are in that group. So we'll take Jason Phillips, for example. It'll show his telemetry and his lap times, and it'll kind of break it down. So it'll help you improve upon your driving, so you can kind of mimic or try and get better and see where you're losing your speed at. So again, it's in the Road Series group chat. So hop on in there and take a look. If you guys want to join it, you can. If not, you don't have to. It's just something that we as a group like to let everybody know it's there. And in that group chat, they're going back and forth about whether it's going to rain tomorrow. So I don't think anybody knows. I guess bring an umbrella, bring your rain tires, and just bring an optimistic outlook.
Be ready for everything. I mean, I think that's going to be the name of the game the whole season long.
Yep. We're looking at currently 44 cars, so it's going to be a gigantic group. So we'll see how it goes. That's all you can do. Show up, race, and let's see what happens. We'll talk about it next Monday. We'll go ahead and move into oval here, James. Truck Series was out in Pocono. Personally, I'm a pretty big fan of the Pocono track. It's a fun track. There's different grooves you can run. Some are faster than others, but it seems like you're either going to set yourself up for a good run coming off of the corner, or you're going to set yourself up for more corner speed. And that chute is fun. The tunnel turn.
Second turn, okay.
Oh yeah. Turn 2, the tunnel turn, the chute. It's unique. It's something where you can, in the truck, you can go in it full out. And as your tires start to wear, you start to slip and slide a little bit more as you're going through it. But it's a fun track. I'm glad we ran it. I'm glad the trucks ran it. I'm glad Cup Series got to run it. But as you can see, Nick Aslin's on the screen, and for good reason. He ended up bringing home the win. But we're gonna go ahead and recap that race real quick, and break it down for you on everything that happened.
I don't know about
So-
everything because there was so much that happened. But
Yeah.
before we get started, both series, the trucks and the Cup, were at Pocono, and the tricky triangle they call it. It's the three unique corners are modeled after three corners in other tracks. The corner one is Trenton, New Jersey, which has 14 degrees of banking and an arc. I don't know if you know much about Trenton, New Jersey, or Trenton racetrack, but Michael reminded us that it had a right-hand dogleg after the exit of turn 2.
Wow.
If you haven't looked it up, Trenton, New Jersey's track, I forget exactly the name of the track, but at a right-hand corner, and turn 2, the tunnel turn is modeled after Indy, is a 90-degree turn, and the same exact banking. And turn 3 is modeled after the Milwaukee Mile, same radius and banking. So that's what makes one of the things that makes Pocono unique. Not to mention the longest front straightaway that I think I've ever run. A lot of wide open throttle at Pocono, right?
Oh, tons. Yeah, that so it's kind of like a hybrid, because the front stretch is like a drafting track. So it's like a super speedway because you got that long straight. And I mean, if you aren't drafting, you aren't catching a guy in front of you unless you get a really good run off of 2.
Right.
Or is that 3? That's 3. Unless you get a good run off of 3. And the rest of the track runs like an intermediate where you got to use a little bit of brake and you got to be able to corner. So it's a really interesting track.
It did not was not short of excitement. Me and Walker were calling the race, and Ian Silva put it on pole. Congrats to Ian Silva, the 51, and he took off and was leading the race when Kevin Mayer and Andrew Miller had an argument over real estate. I think Kevin Mayer was drafting, like you were talking about, Ant, off of Andrew Miller in the 29, and was actually pushing him by the time they got to the corner entry. And I think Miller just lifted earlier, and Mayer ran over him. But they didn't have too much damage, but there was enough to bring out the yellow, and everybody pitted except Ian Silva. So he stayed out, and nobody followed him, stayed on the track. So he got to do the restart, and then it was all green to the competition caution at lap 10, which was about half of a fuel mile stint. Of course, a couple guys coming into pit. I think everybody came into pit at the comp caution, and then we re-rack them and we go green the rest of the way. How much of the race did you watch, Ant?
I think I got about 35 to 40 laps in. It looked like after that comp caution, it looked like Scamilla came out of the pits with the lead. And him and Brandon Cotton somehow managed to pull off a gap between them and the rest of the field from third place back, and we're just battling out till the next green flag pit stops.
Yeah, Justin Thaler was in there for the first part too, and so I wasn't going to count him out. But you're right, Brandon Cotton and Michael Samia just kept going, let it rip, and then we were green flag pit stops and cycling. And of course, if you could save 2 or 3 laps per stint, it's going to pay off at the end.
Yeah, it's so Pocono is kind of tricky in that way. Like you could fuel save, but you were losing a lot of time. And I remember having this conversation last week with you and Justin about how you can kind of try to beat the fuel saving strategy, and that's just on pure speed. Like you have to be able to put down fast enough laps to where it negates the fuel saving, like the time saved on fuel saving. And Pocono is one of those tracks where it's a crapshoot. You can try and save, but you're moving at such fast speeds on those straight stretches that I think it kind of negates it. And I don't know who all tried fuel saving in the truck series, but I can tell you in Cup, which we'll go over later, the fuel saving strategy didn't work.
Right. I know. Yeah, you're right. In the Cup race, you found out the hard way, but also Eric Taylor in the 15 was doing good and having a great run, but running the high line, which I think is a longer distance, a longer way around, and trying to fuel save at the same time, he was letting everybody under him and kind of dropped back. I mean, he restarted up front, and then before you know it, he's almost all the way in the back. So we knew he was on a fuel save run, and it actually worked out for him because he was actually. Can we skip forward all the way to the end of the race and the final stop? And it's Eric Thaler out front with no more stops to make. We know that he was going about 2 laps longer than everybody else, and was able to stop right on schedule, and it looked like he was going to be the man, except for number 48, Nicholas Aslan, the same guy that won the GT4 preseason race, runs Eric down. Nick Aslan was pretty much on a wide open plan, stop, and if you got to stop, you got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was able to run full throttle where Eric still had to save some, and Nick Aslan ran down, I think it was about a 7-second differential. It was just too much. Like you said, that was that ability to save versus the time you lose.
Yeah, and it paid off for Nick. It looks like Nick pulled away with the win there. And if I remember correctly, I'm not looking at the finishing order, but I believe Brandon Cotton pulled out second, correct?
I believe so. I should have it up already. I was flipping back and forth, but I know Ian Silva finished third. I remember talking to him, and after the pole, he was real excited, and it was great to hear the Aussie and have a conversation. He's qualified on the pole more than once this season, and it was good to see him bring home a podium at least.
So
especially
it looks
after
like
getting caught out.
Yep. So it looks like we had Nick Aslan win, Brandon Cotton second, Ia Silva third, Jason Phillips. That's a good showing for Jason Phillips, man. He's having a strong rookie season. Jason Phillips bringing it home fourth, Mark Cochran fifth. Isn't he another Aussie?
Yes, he is.
Man, the Aussies with the top 5 there. I like it.
Oi, oi, oi. Yep.
Yeah. Mike Scamilla brought it home sixth while also leading the most laps of the race. He had 15 led, and the next closest person was Ian Silva with 12. So good job there, Mike Scamilla. We're going to be talking about you here in a little bit. Justin Thaler 7th, Travis Jones 8th, Eric Thaler 9th, and Robert Sanders
ran
10th.
out of gas.
Oh, Eric ran out of gas.
Second coming in the tunnel turn, I believe, and then puttered around. Finally made it around by the time he made it around. Or maybe, I think Nicholas Aslan may have passed him with like 2 to go, and Eric coasted across the line. He may have got past. I'm looking at the times; they're pretty close.
Yeah, that's unfortunate when that kind of stuff happens. I mean, you try and stretch that tank as far as you can. You think you might have it, and then a correction comes through, and your crew chief tells you, "Yeah, well,
surprise,
you ain't gonna make it."
Yeah.
So
we need you to go fast, but we need you to save fuel. We need 2 laps, bud.
Exactly. Yeah, we need fast lap times, but we need maximum fuel saving.
Yep.
So great racing by everybody. Congrats, guys, on a nice green flag run there after the comp caution. That pit can be treacherous. At least I found that out in the Cup Series, which we'll touch on. But good job, everybody, and great racing. So we have the points up on the screen. I believe this is the most current points. Just grabbed them before we came on. So Dustin Reinstedel, 452. Robert Sanders, 376. Brandon Cotton, 368. Trevor McLaughlin, 355. And Ian Silva, 339. That's your top 5 there. Huh. I'm surprised Justin isn't somewhere in there. Did he have a bad race? He must have had a bad race. I thought I could have swore he was up there last week. Maybe not. But anyways, your guys' truck points are up on the screen now. Go ahead, take those in real quick, and we'll go ahead and move over to Cup. Is there anything that kind of stands out on this for you, James, with the point standings?
Dustin's got a big lead, but the drops aren't counted in this points total yet. And Dustin did not have a good run at Pocono.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my standout. The points leader having a bad race. I think he went fuel save and it didn't work for him.
Yeah, it's looking like he had a 19th place finish. Looking at it.
That's gonna hurt.
Oh yeah, a little bit. So we got what? That's one of his 3 drop races, unless he missed a race somewhere, which I ain't sure of. But that's definitely going to count as one of his drop races. The one thing that stands out for me on here is Jason Phillips down there in 8th place again, having a really good rookie season. Putting in the work here. I know he runs super speedways. I don't know if he does any other types of tracks in his oval prior to doing the truck series. So he's out here figuring this stuff out on the go. I think once he gets it, he's going to be a formidable oval racer. So keep at it, Jason, man. You're putting in some great work and putting on a hell of a rookie season. So good job.
He's definitely an iRacer, man. You know, I mean, he loves it. His rig is decked out. You know, he's got a lot of immersion things. I'm not sure if he's still running the lights, but I remember even the lights dim in his room when he goes under a bridge or in a tunnel or something like that on the road stuff. So when he was in the road course at Chicago in the McDonald's section, his whole room lit up red because all the banners around the track were red. You know, and as he goes through, I mean, on the screen is red and his room is red. He's got, you know, the butt kickers. So he's definitely got all the little tricks to, and of course with the good rig, but he puts in the time. Like you said, he put in road practice tonight was what, 3 hours? So he's testing and tuning all the time and got it figured out.
And what was interesting, I don't know if I have the exact order down on this, but what was interesting was he set up 3 individual sessions. So it was a session dry, a session with rain, and then a session with both.
Yep.
So this guy, when it comes to racing, man, he's serious about it. So it's good to see that he's taking that body of work and he's putting it into truck racing. And who knows, maybe one day he'll be able to kind of flex that schedule a little and hop in the Cup. He'll be like the next SVG in our iRacing league.
Yeah, maybe he was a Boy Scout. He likes to be prepared.
Yeah, maybe.
Be prepared for anything coming at him.
Well, since he has the coolest rig ever, we'll have to see if he still has all that stuff set up. See if he has like active sprinklers now for whenever it starts raining.
Windshield wipers on it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure. All right, before we hop into the Cup Series, real quick, I seen in the Discord here, anybody that's looking for running on a team that's running GTP, it looks like Brandon Thayer, they're looking for somebody to help out their team in the 24. So anybody that's looking to run the Porsche GTP, it looks like they're looking for one more person. So reach out to Brandon Thayer, number 64. And if you guys are interested in racing with him, just get in touch with him. So moving on to Pocono for the Cup Series. Rough race for me, man. Started off okay, got second place, I think, in qualifying. Eric just snatched the pole out of my hands. I thought I was going to have it, and he just came in there and laid a blazing lap.
That's right. Well, I mean,
good.
How much? I was going to ask how much prep you had, how much practice you had.
None, unfortunately.
Okay, so I mean, that's a pretty good starting spot, not having any practice.
Yeah, I wanted to. So every week I set up a happy hour practice unless it's a super speedway. I might set one up for Atlanta later this season, but for like Talladega, Daytona, we don't need a happy hour practice. I don't set them up for that. So I set one up every week, and unfortunately, more often than not, I can't participate in these because normally I'm either helping put the baby to bed or helping clean up or doing something. So unfortunately, this week happened to be one of those ones where I couldn't join. So the only practice I got was the 10 minutes or 15 minutes before we qualified. But every bit helps. I was able to find a line and practice that I could translate over to qualifying to get me that second place start.
Yeah, it was good. Good job.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys ran it all the way to the competition caution, right?
Yeah, we had. Who I meant to ask Josh how many incidents we had in that race because we had no cautions. I don't believe besides the comp. That was it.
That's right.
I know. At the end of the race there were 8 incidents given out on the last lap, and then I think there were a couple, maybe 2s, and one other 4 or another 2 4s, but. So it wasn't our lowest incident race of the season, which is surprising, but it
I see
it
5.
was.
I see
There were
5
5.
people. 5 people with 4X's, and the 2 of those were the leaders coming to the line.
Yeah.
We'll save that for the end of the
Yeah.
show, but
We'll break that down.
yeah. So not bad. I
No,
was looking
20
at
incidents.
yeah.
Not bad at all. It was a good race for a lot of people. Had a good race here. It looked like Justin was running up front for most of the race, and then um, Eric was fast when he was on it, when he wasn't fuel saving. He was putting down some good laps those first 15 laps. And I think once the competition caution came out, it was either you're going to go with a fuel saving strategy or you're going to run and pit like normal, and just pick the wrong strategy.
It happens to the best of us. But I mean, you had a partner though. You weren't all alone, right? I mean, it looked like you and Eric were working together.
Yeah. So Eric and I were able to drop to the back, which was actually pretty scary because you talking about Kevin Mayer and I can't remember. Was it? I can't remember who it was that he ended up bumping going into the corner, and it was because they were getting off the gas and the other person didn't see it, and
Miller.
yeah, Miller. We had that pretty close to happen after the comp caution where we were going down into turn 1, and I wanted to start my fuel saving, so I checked up a little early. And I tell you what, man, there's nothing scarier than seeing those bumpers behind you get a lot closer, not knowing you're checking up.
Right.
But they did a great job slowing down and maneuvering to keep themselves from running me over, running themselves over, and causing a pileup in turn 1.
There was a lot of so. This is what I noticed. Of course, there's a pretty small fuel tank in the Cup Series this season, and so there were a lot of guys. I want to say I don't want to call them comers and goers, but it's hard to know who was on what strategy because also tires made a pretty, I think, more of a difference in Cup than they did in Truck, whether you took tires or not. So the speed differential, I mean, they were 3 wide a couple of times, and thankfully they backed down and fanned out wide enough on corner entry to get it before they got to the middle of the corner. But I don't know. Did you have any close calls out there?
Oh,
29?
yeah, we had quite a few close calls. Going into the tunnel turn, JT was on my left, and I don't like being the car on the right going into the tunnel turn because if the guy on the left doesn't hit his marks right, he's washing you into that wall. And it happens a lot where you'll follow somebody through that corner and you'll see them hit the wall on their own. So it's always in the back of your mind that, hey, I don't want to be on the right of this person. So I checked up prematurely to let JT go by before the tunnel turn, and I think I stacked up Walker behind me, and I thought I was going to get ran over, but Walker did a pretty good job at adjusting, and then he was able to, I guess, take the pass on me after the tunnel turn. But there were a few times where I was racing and it'd be like too wide racing, or somebody get a heck of a run on you and you think you're going to get ran over. But again, everybody did a great job at avoiding stack ups and having a lot of contact for the most part.
Not
So,
only,
good.
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Not
you're
only
good.
on the track, but coming out of the pits or coming in the pits. Me and Michael, shout out to Michael Harris for joining me in the booth. If you haven't heard him with the commentary, he's definitely getting better with every race, and I hope he continues to join me in the booth on Sundays. So shout out to Michael Harris. He, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about your late run in the pits on pit entry later, but did you have any battles coming off of the pits? It seems like you were coming in together and then you were also going out together, and there were 3 wide coming out of the pit sometimes, and the pit exit is kind of tricky at the Pocono.
Yeah, thankfully, no. Since Eric and I ran such a skewed fuel saving strategy, like we were pitting in about 4 or 5 laps after everybody else. And that helped us to have a clean pit entry. But the issue was when you were exiting, there was a chance you were going to have a pack of cars also coming into turn 1. And if you aren't familiar with Pocono, there's no pit line. Like normal tracks, you go around turn 1, and on the backstretch of turn 2, you blend out to the field. In Pocono, you have a strip, and as soon as you get to the entry of turn 1, they want you on the track. So by the time you're getting into the track, you have people coming down to try and make the apex of that corner if they're running the low line. So you're just barely getting the nose of your car clear by the back bumper of their car if everything's meshing up right. Otherwise, you're throwing off their racing line, so they come down and then they have to adjust their throttle and brake so they can correct and come out of the corner at the right arc and they aren't killing too much speed. It's a dance, man, and it's a hard dance if you're
You
not in
saw
the
a lot of
lead.
guys 2 wheels on the apron and 2 wheels on the track, just trying to stay out of the way and not get run over, and at the same time blend, like you said, and they're in a battle, sometimes 2 wide, pushing each other, coming around, trying to beat you because they were ahead of you before the pit stop, and now all of a sudden they've caught up after the stop. And it was just lots of lots of potential for things to go cattywampus, and they didn't. They all kept it clean, man.
Yeah, it was again a great race by the Cup guys and a great race by the um, truck guys. Everything all together worked out well, and it really worked out well for Mike Scamilla. I didn't get to see his entire race. I got to see probably the last handful of laps of it, but he put himself in the right places to cap off a win at Pocono. But that's not to say it didn't come with a little bit of adversity, because he had
I'd
a
say.
hard charging Walker on him.
Yeah, probably the last half of actually, the whole last stint, Walker and Michael were stuck together as the 3 and the 12, and they are on the same team. They I don't know if, I guess it is a team. Of course it is. They're in a voice chat channel together, but also training in between, sharing tips and tricks and trying to figure this thing out, because we're all having fun, trying to do the best we can, and working together. So Um, yeah, Walker and Michael, along with Brandon Thayer and Trevor McLaughlin, all kind of hang out and try to do the best they can, and they ended up with a 1-2-3 this time. But Walker and Michael ended up going flat out and doing the right strategy and getting the tires at the right time. I think is what put them out front, being smooth around traffic to the point that they could come in to make their final stop and hold on to the lead after everybody stops. And they pulled away, and Walker was stalking Michael. I think Michael got the the bonus for laps led, right? Samia,
Uh,
18 laps for him.
I believe so. I'll take a second look at it real quick, but I believe he had it.
Yeah, so um,
Yep.
yeah, but
Yeah, he got it.
Walker was stalking him. He was right there all the way to the end. Even coming to the last stop, they were together, and they come out of the last stop together. And yeah, coming on the out of turn one, they're side by side. Walker seemed to get a little better run on the exit this time. Well, Walker was drafting Samia, so Samia was kind of like a sitting duck. I think Walker was being patient, biding his time, saving his tires as much as he could. And so he ended up getting inside Michael Samia in the tunnel turn, and Michael Samia left room for him. He said after the race that that's where felt like he was most vulnerable anyway, and so he was expecting an attack there in the tunnel turn, and of course Walker takes it. And then coming into turn 3, Walker gets 2 wheels on the apron and gets loose. Michael does the crossover and coming to the line, Walker crosses him over, and they are in a drag race to the line. Walker actually had a pretty good run, and so what happened, I think Walker got 2 wheels on the apron and then went wide, and Michael snuck under him and then got all the way back in front of him. Walker was drafting him maybe to the line, I think is how it played out. But anyway, Walker wasn't happy about getting past, and it looked like he had time to save it. He had already saved it and kind of gave him a little love tap, door bang. I thought at the time it was just may have been a love tap, but it was a 4X, and so it definitely upset Samia's car. I asked him, Michael Samia, after the race about it specifically, and he said they thought they both got loose, and it was something that he wasn't worried about. But at the end of the day, it ruined both of their 0X, so they both got penalized for it.
Yeah, that's 5 bonus points gone out of that potential. What is it? 7 bonus points for 8. That would have been potential 8 bonus points for Scamilla. With the most laps led and leading the lap to go with the 5 points for clean race. But I don't know exactly what played out there. The only people that will know is Walker coming out of the corner, and if he happened to tell Scamilla, like, hey, that was me still loose and the rear tires didn't hook up and I hit you, or just giving you a love tap, that's between those two. If Scamilla didn't feel any slight by it, then I guess that's in his shoes to take it up with Walker. But again, it's unfortunate. Both drivers lost a potential additional 5 points. I mean, in the tight points battle that we have in the Cup Series, which I'll throw up on the screen, it's every point matters. It might not matter to the two there, but every point does matter. And depending on how those drop races shake out, you might have you might be in a close battle with somebody else that you need those 5 points. So, I mean, if you look there on the screen, Ty has a 1 point lead over top of Eric. 4 points back to Justin. And Aaron Holroyd, man, he's sticking with it. 4th place, 10 points back from the lead. He's putting on a really good season. And if you look there at those bonus points, those 0Xs really accumulating those. He's got 140 of those. I think that's the second most on that list. So he's earning these points, and it's every time he keeps those bonus points, it's just adding to that resume he's putting together. 5 point difference there with Brandon Cotton and Aaron. And then you go back a little bit. Dustin, who was up there scraping around in the top 5, scrapping with everybody, he had to miss the race, but that's going to be his drop race. And then it goes a little bit back to Brandon Thayer, and it tightens up again between 10th and 7th. So these bonus points matters, guy. It's a little bit of contact. iRacing doesn't see that stuff as love taps. I mean, you can get away with a couple bumps on the rear bumper every now and again, but iRacing, they judge that as you dooring somebody, so they're going to penalize you for it.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty disappointed. I mean, Michael Samia is one of the cleanest racers on the planet, on the league. You know, I mean, I've never seen him ruffle anybody's feather. So if anybody should be given a little bit of leeway, not only is your teammate, but also one of the cleanest guys in the league. So, and if I remember, there was some texting back and forth, some messaging back and forth, and some of the league recommendation stuff too about disagreeing with some of the rules or maybe making a recommendation, let's say, because that's the chat that it was in. I don't know, but for that to happen, it's kind of disappointing to see it.
Yeah, the bonus point subject with the clean racing bonus points being more or too beneficial in a way, but it's when you kind of throw away those 5 points, I mean it gets kind of counterproductive to the argument.
Make up your mind, dude.
Exactly. So Pocono, congrats Mike Scamilla on the win. Your guys' point standings are up there on the screen. Take a quick look at them. As we talked about, Daytona 24 this weekend. Along with that, trucks, you guys are out at Indianapolis for your endurance race. It's one of the crown jewel events that you guys voted on. So you guys are doing 100 laps out at Indy. So anybody running the 24 that's also participating in the doubleheader this week with the the cup and the truck endurance events, do your curls, do your hand exercises, do your push-ups, do whatever you need to do this week because you're going to be doing a lot of wheel turning. We have trucks at Indy for 100 laps and the Cup car out at Darlington for 275 laps. So
Throwback. Don't forget to bring out your throwback paints, Cup drivers.
Yep, throwback for the Cup drivers. What better place to do it than at Darlington? Trucks, you guys are a couple weeks from now whenever you actually visit Darlington for your official race, so we'll remind you then. But I can't think of a better way to have this week play out than to have all the racing we're about to have. So just to recap, guys, Motegi tomorrow. Rain or shine, 7:25 p.m. The broadcast should be up, if not a little bit sooner for qualifying, if they can make that happen. Trucks, 9:45, 9:50. I think you guys start the broadcast 9:55, somewhere around that area. But trucks are running at Indy this Friday. Session start time 9:30, and Cup. 7:25 should be the broadcast startup time at Darlington this Sunday. So a lot of racing, a lot of fun, and we'll be back to recap it with y'all next week with a special guest. So we'll see everybody next week, and everybody who's running, have a great race, and best of luck to y'all.
As always, stay in your lane.